Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at the homework problems for chapter 5 and show you how to work through those. And so let's begin. In this specific video too, we're going to be looking at homework problem 5.1. And this problem here, I've taken a screenshot out and just pasted it in here so we can review it, but it's in your packet as well that you can find the information from. And so in our problem here, we have this company, we use a perpetual inventory system, we have the following transactions, and a number of different tasks to do. So we have to calculate the cost of goods and number of units available for sale. And we're going to use that specifically, remember, in our specific identification method to come up with our cost of goods sold. Let's see, calculate the units sold and dollar amount recorded sales. So similar kind of thing there. Calculate the number of units remaining in ending inventory, and then compute the cost of goods sold, and ending inventory values using the 4 different methods we talked about in class. And it tells us if we're going to use the specific identification method, assume the remaining inventory includes 800 units from the 10.5 purchase, so this one, and 1,200 from the 10.24. And then we have to calculate gross profit earned under each of the costing methods. So, okay, so let's begin here. As we've kind of used in class, I showed you a kind of reference example, from our exercises that we did, our homework, the practice with feedback ones where you have the red X's that go away. So that's a good kind of template sort of method to use. And in here in your homework problem, you kind of have the start of that. So let's just start with this type of problem here, and we will continue on using that sort of methodology there. But something to keep in mind, if you need an example, definitely refer back to your practice with feedback, those exercise problems. That's kind of handy to get the feel for the breakdown. And even if you hadn't completed it yet, which hopefully you will have completed it at this point while you're doing the homework problems here, there is, if you hadn't done the practice with feedback yet, there is, even in that file though, there is a tab that says, it says reference, I believe. Let me open that file up. Or example. Yeah, it says example. So that's kind of a useful example to refer to when you're setting up the formatting for this problem. So, but follow along here and we'll work through this together. So step 1 says calculate the cost of goods available for sale and number of units available for sale. And so here we can just kind of carry information over, if you will. So on 10.1, and let's just start it here. So 10.1, there was 400, and this we'll put in beginning inventory. Let's just write these in too while we're doing this. So 10.5, there was a purchase. I spelled that wrong. Purchase on 10. So the first thing we're doing is calculating cost of goods available for sale. So we're going to skip that sale transaction, and we're just going to be listing the beginning of inventory plus purchases here. Okay. And I think that's all of our purchases plus beginning inventory. So let's go ahead and put in our units. 2,200 and the 3,000. And then just carrying the cost per unit over for, 26, 2.6, 3, and 3.47. So you can see different costs here. I'm going to format those with the currency so we can differentiate between numbers of units and costs and have those two kind of separated out. Okie doke. And I'm sorry, I'm putting these in let me put these over. I need to have those in the inventory balance section, not the cost of goods sold section. We're only going to use this this part whenever we have a sales transaction to figure out our cost of goods sold. Okay, so that's all of our this is all of our purchases essentially, and we can come up with our cost of goods available for sale from this number here. So the total cost would be 24,570. The total number of units would be 8,200. I'm going to take off our grid lines here. I just find that this, I want to create our own here, make it a little easier to see across. Okay, and so then these numbers, and I'm going to put double underlines. Actually, give me no border, and then let's do like that. Okay, so that kind of reference makes it easier to see. These are our totals. And this is going to be our cost of goods available for sale, COGA, and our number of units, basically, our total here. And you know, actually, I'm going to, yeah, that's fine. I might take these headers again. I'll probably paste them down as we go with the different methodologies. But anyway, this is our total cost of goods available for sale. And then let's put our two sales transactions down here. 10.8 and 10.28. And this is a sale and a sale. And this is more where we'd have it over in this general section here with our cost of goods a bit sold. But we're kind of doing this differently, I guess. If we are doing our specific identification method here, we're just going to say our total sales is the difference. So these headings work well for the FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average method. They don't work as well when we're just doing these first couple of things here, because they don't really specifically apply. But so I'm gonna take these headers, paste them in down here, and we're gonna say sales revenue per unit instead. Okay. And so with that in mind, and I'll extend the things there. So how many did we have? We had 2,000 units sold and 4,200 units sold. Okay. And those are units, so we'll leave those with no dollars indicated. So sale at retail price, then $4 and $5 in the second one. So that's just coming off of here. And these are two kind of different things, so keep that in mind. These purchases, we're saying this is what we paid for it. These sales are saying this is what the customer paid for the product. So be aware of that. Okay, so that means that we earned $8,000 in the first sale, and what was something? Is that right? No, I did something wrong there. 4,200. 21,000 in the second sales transaction. So I'm going to get that a little better there. Okay. Sales revenue per unit. I'm going to take off our underlines here. This is just kind of me doing some Excel cleanup work there, but this is more kind of what I want to show it as. I'm going to actually copy it. I'm going to paste that over here. And while we're at it, I'm just going to paste these over here. So with our specific identification method, we want to be able to see the totals. So I'm actually going to copy that down. Oh, I want to fix my formula there so it only pulls those two. Same thing here. I'm just copying that down, but fixing that. And this is going to be our sales revenue. Okay. I'm gonna copy. This is, bear with me here as I kind of do my own cleanup on these things. I want this, but I want it over here, and then I'd rather just pull these over. So I'm gonna delete and shift cells to the. Oh, that didn't work. I missed the headers there. Okay, so that looks a little better to me. Again, we're going to use this breakdown, but I'm going to kind of put this down lower so we can just focus on the original parts. So number A says calculate the cost of goods available for sale. So that was, this is our cost of goods available for sale, and the number of units. Calculate the units sold and the dollars amount recorded in sales. So that's basically what we did there. So the total cost of goods that we could have sold was $24,570. And then let's put down here, take the difference between the two of available for sale units actually sold. So we have 2,000 units left. So we'll say ending inventory in units. And let's see. Okay, so then it tells us that, so we need number of units. Yeah, remaining. So that's, this is A. Calculate the units sold in October. I mean, that's B. Basically, C, we've calculated the units remaining. And now we're going to use the different methods here, basically. So for specific identification, let's see, what are we going to do? Let's put ending inventory, and then let's do cost of goods sold. I'm going to change the way that's going so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so ending inventory then, it tells us for specific identification, we have assume that the remaining inventory has 800 units from the 10.5 purchase, so this one, and let's just put 800 out here. I'm going to carry that over. And give us 2,080. So this is inventory left over from that purchase, and 1,200 from the 1024 purchase. So let's just copy this formula down. But it says 1,200. So if we do a summation on that and this, so again, this is the leftover inventory. Here's the ending inventories. The totals, the 2,000 we were able to determine there quickly. Let me do the currency on here. So this 2,000 left over, which we could tell, was what there was left over in total. But then we need the information further tells us that 2,000 is made up of these purchase types or transactions, and so we have $6,244 of inventory value left over. And then to get our cost of good sold, it's just what we could have sold minus what's still left over. So cost of goods sold then is 18,326. That's what I get there. And yeah, let's see. I'm gonna make that a little smaller so we're not quite so taking up so much space with our work here. Just trying to make this a little more efficient. Okay. Great. So that's our specific identification method. So like I was showing you here, I pulled down this this other information, kind of the cost of goods sold, and then also the inventory balance to the side, which is a good method. Let me get a little more room here with this though. So we do want the date in transactions. Okay. So this is the specific identification method. Delete shift cells left. Okay. And then let's also do the, bear with me 1 second while I copy the headers. Okay, perfect. So now let's look at the FIFO method and make a little room here. So that's specific identification. Now FIFO, let's go through and take a look at everything here. So we can kind of, since we already have this information sort of listed out above, let's link things. So on October 1st, this is our beginning inventory, and we're going to come over to the inventory balance section here. We had 400 units at $2 per unit. Multiply those together, $800. And then, just for the sake of having that, yeah, I like that better. Okay. Or you know what? Actually, I think it looks even better just over. Just kind of my little idiosyncrasies with how I like my Excels to look, but you're following along with me here, so we're going to make it look how I like it. Okay, so we've got headers. We've got a whole kind of spreadsheet to work in, and let's figure out our FIFO, ending inventory and cost of goods sold. So that's our beginning inventory. Then we had a purchase that happened on the 5th. So our sale didn't happen until the 8th, so we don't have to worry about that yet. Let me make this look the same there. And this was a purchase. And we, not in the cost of goods sold section, but in the inventory balance section here. So pull that formula down. Okay. And then, so when we had our sale, our first sales transaction here, and I'm going to try and see, yeah, let's just put, I'll just do like totals like this. And so at this point, I don't know if there's a way to, let me do a thick bottom border. Does that look right? No. Bear with me while I try to make this look more legible kind of with totals. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so now, and remember the dates when things happen here is important with these types of transactions. So on the 8th, we had a sale. And since we're using first in, first out, that's where we're going to go to our first layer, if you will. I refer to it as layers when we do these types of costing problems, because I think that makes sense. And so in total, we are going to be selling 2,000 units, and we had 3,000 units to sell at first. So I'm going to put some total underlines there. So we know that we want the total sale is going to have to include 2,000 units. So the FIFO really drives us to understand where those units are going to come from. And since we're doing FIFO, that means we pull from this first layer, and then we're going to take the difference between those. So 1,600 units, and that's going to come from our second layer there. Sorry, just respond to a text. Okay, so yeah, so FIFO, it drives our understanding of which cost, and kind of that's really what we're getting at, is how are the costs distributed, and so it's by layer, and so you can do our formula there. So we have $800 of the cost of goods sold is going to be driven by this layer is gone essentially at this point because we used it all up. And let's see, did I underline that? Oh, sorry, let me do that. Okay. So 49.60. And one way to kind of, I don't know if this is helpful, but let's just do these layers in different colors here so you can kind of see where things are coming from and where they remain after the sale, etc. So after we have this sale transaction go through, now our inventory balance is going to have 1,000 units left. And all of those 1,000 units are from this layer here with the 260, same price, top or bottom there. And so in our inventory, after the transaction, the sale transaction happened, we had $1,000 units left over because we had 3,000 to start. We sold 2,000, so we should have 1,000 left over. And I do see students sometimes forget to carry down the leftovers, and they just start putting in the next purchase transaction. So be careful with that. That's a common mistake I see. But we do have some carryover inventory after the sale. Okay, and then let's go back up here because our next sale doesn't happen until the 28th. So we have 2 more purchase transactions to account for. And these ones, we had 2,200 units, and then we had 3,000 units. We had $3 per unit it cost us, and then $3.47. Just do our formula there. And just to kind of continue with our theme of highlighting these. And if you all want to practice some Excel highlighting, it's a good exercise there too. So you just, select all those cells just by dragging, and then you can go up to the little fill color button there to get different types of color. Let's give ourselves some more space here. Okay, so these were 2 purchase transactions, and that was the total there. Let's put our underlines just to make that a little more clear that those are summations. Okay, and so we had these purchases, and then so that's from that layer. Let me use a different color just because. Let's do that. No, that's too close to the other. That's the downside with the colors. Sometimes it's like hard to differentiate, but I want these to be relatively clear. So this layer was what we sold off. That's gone. This was the sold part of the 2,600. We sold 1,600 left over with 1,000 there. Okay. So now we're going to have another sales transaction that happened on the 28th. And on this one, we sold 4,200 units here. So we have 6,200. We sold 4,200, and let's see. So 4,200. We're gonna have to pull into all 3 layers there. It looks like because the total is 6,200, but these two layers sum to 3,200. Since we sold 4,200, we're gonna have to dip into the purple layer, if you will. I'm gonna actually just do the format painter. This is a good place where that comes in handy. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to auto sum like that. I just wanted it to pull in. All right, let's do these. I'll just copy that to paste those totals. Okay, so now we can basically just carry over. I'm going to do this as well. So really, we could, shoot, I should have just done this. I did not need to do format painter. I could have just kind of pasted those in. It looks a little funny, but let's just go through and finish our linking because it's referring to these were pulling from somewhere else, but that's okay. So let's link to that, and let's link to that. And then for our final portion here, we're gonna the cost, the dollar cost per unit. We're gonna link from this, but it's not the 3,000. We're gonna link here. But instead, let's go ahead and just type in the 4,200 because we sold 4,200. That's what we're trying to total to. So 4,200. And then to figure out how many we're going to have to pull from that purple layer, we're just going to take the total minus the other 2 to give us 1,000. I mean, we could have kind of done the math in our head because it was easy, but that's the way I usually approach these problems when I'm figuring out how many I will need to select from the final layer, is take the total minus the other 2 amounts that you've already selected, essentially. So then the total should add up to 4,200. I mean, it has to if you did your formula that way. And then we can see that we are pulling 1,000. So this layer is gone. This layer is now gone, right? Because we sold those totals. And then we're just going to end up And I'm going to copy these just down. We're going to put it down here. And we're going to say we have 2,000 units left, which matches our ending inventory, 2,000 units. And those units are all at $3.47. And we can kind of fix up our formulas there if we want, because that just gets us back to that place. So again, keep in mind that regardless of whatever method we're using, you're still ending up with the 2,000 units, in ending inventory. Really, these different methodologies, what they're doing is just assigning a different cost to those ending units based on whether it's FIFO or LIFO or all the rest of it, essentially. So cool. Okay, so that was FIFO, and I'm just gonna make that more clear, just for the sake of making this look nice. And then okay, so that's great. Let's go with LIFO now. So I'm gonna just highlight that whole thing, since we already did a lot of this work of formatting and stuff. A lot of the LIFO, a lot of the transactions will carry over. So I'm gonna get that to equal there. Drag this down. Oh, that doesn't look very good. Bear with me here. I'm gonna link these again. So that was our sale. We had our 2 purchases. When we pasted it down, it kind of went funky with the linking. Same with a bunch of this other stuff. Okay, I think one thing we can just do that's kind of handy is, since we already have these linked, so that refers to this cell, and if what we want is the cell right next to it, we can just drag that formula basically over. The formula just being equals that other cell. And that fixes itself there. Okay, that's great. And then, so we're doing LIFO now. So when we do LIFO, I'm going to again just link up to these top things here because they don't change at all. This is all the same. Really, the LIFO difference comes into play once we start having our sales transactions. So, and there might be some changes we need depending on how things go. So, okay, so we had 2,600 units. Yeah, because I can already see that we're going to be able to accomplish our full sale on October 8th just using that first layer. Okay, so so we can accomplish that. If we sold 2,000 units, we have more than enough units just within this layer to accomplish that. So I'm gonna delete those rows. We'll fix the problems later as we go. But let's change this formatting so that it's more of so it's this other color, because that's the difference with LIFO. Is instead of here, you can see we pulled from that first layer first. Here with LIFO, we're going to pull from the last layer, the bottom one, the most recent purchase, if you will. And we only need 2,000 units. That was our total sell here was 2,000 units. And that's at $260 per unit. So our cost of goods sold. Oh, and sorry, one thing I didn't do, but I need to, is let's do our total cost of goods sold. Let's do a little double underline here. So this is total cost of goods sold. So these are the individual cost of goods sold related to these singular sales transactions. The total, taking both into account, is the 17,630 by adding both those, and then this is ending inventory at 6940. Okay, so so now we've got our 2,000 units coming from these layers, and then after we have the purchase done, I'm going to need to actually insert a row there. It's going to be like this. And then this one is going to have the, I guess it was already that color, but so that row still exists untouched, that layer. But then we have 2,600 to start. We sold 2,000. And so this times this. So 1,560 is left over from this layer. This one's, untouched. Okay, and then we can just, again, when we're doing our purchases, there's no difference in LIFO or FIFO, so we'll just copy that. So we have the same ending units, but a different cost, a different inventory value, because we're assuming that it's sold from a different layer using the LIFO methodology there. Okay, great. So there we are. We're at the end of our two purchases. We've got all our inventory accounted for, and then we have this sale on the 28th. Where we are going to sell again 4,200 units. But again, we're doing things a little differently. So we can start with that. Start with this layer, the last one. So 3,000 units will come from there. And then we have 22, and we can just say, how many do we have left? We need 1,200. To get us to 4,200 total, and we had 2,200 to pull from, so that's fine. And then this times that. Okay, so we don't even need this. I'm going to move this down just a little bit just to clean this up. Oh geez. Here, I'll copy and paste values just to make sure we definitively have that, and then we can just delete that whole row there. Let's just go ahead and delete this one too, so it's a little more clean. While we're at it, everything's got kind of a purpose, every row. Okay, so now we have accounted for all of our sales, and now we just need to figure out what any inventory we have left. So this layer is gone, so we just have these three layers. So I'm going to format paint. And I'm going to add some. Let me undo our formatting and we're going to kind of redo that here in a moment. Let's add some more space. Okay, so this one's gone, but let's do our format painter there to reflect the three layers that do still exist. Excuse me. And then let's do that thick bottom layer, I believe it was, or thick bottom border. Oh, it's this one. So we want that. Where do we want that? I think we want it here and there to show our totals. And so, yeah, so that's great. Let's see. So we had this. Oh, let's go into our layers here. So this one is untouched. You just basically link up to those. This one is untouched as well. We've had, it was sold from in the first time we had this transaction, but it was untouched from this transaction here. And then our leftovers in this layer is 1,000 left over at 3,000. This times that. And just for the sake of copying our formulas across, let's just do it the same way there. And again, we should have 2,000 units left over. And those are units. So let's make sure that's differentiated. So 2,000 units. And then that consists of that the cost there that we have with LIFO is 5,360. Okay, let's delete out our extra space. So then you can copy that. That's our ending inventory. And then again, our cost of goods sold now. So our formula, we just copied over. It doesn't work anymore because it's referring to old positions from above. But let's just move those so it adds the two totals together there. And we end up with 19,210 for the cost of goods sold and 5,360 as ending inventory. Whereas with FIFO, we had a little different amount there. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's wrap this up with our weighted average method. And I know that this one's gonna do weight just for the sake of saving space. I'm just gonna do WTD AVG. Again, I'm just gonna go up here, and I know that there's going to be some differences. With weighted average, the one real difference is there's only one line for every sale, so that's kind of nice. Okay, that's there. And again, let's just drag these over. Boom, boom, boom. Looks good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so again, no difference when we're doing our beginning transactions here. It's the same under each method, 3,000, 75.60, 3,000, 75.60. It only really, the difference that we arrive at is when we're accounting for our cost of goods sold at the time of sale. Okay, so we've got a sale here, same units in each one, right? No difference, 2,000. So 2,000 units. But the difference really comes into, and let's take off our highlighting, because let's do something a little different here with highlighting. So the average cost per unit at the time that we have this sale is $2.52. And we get that just by taking total cost divided by total number of units. So this is the average cost per unit. And let's highlight this with like that color there, and then that's where we're gonna pull this in. So that sale has 5,040, and then that's gonna something else that we won't need 2 layers here because we're accounting for everything leftovers. So we had 3,000 minus 2,000, we end up with 1,000 left over at $2.52 per average unit. Then we still have the same, purchases coming in. Oh, that one got messed up somehow. So 347. Wait, is that right? I think something got a little off because of I deleted some stuff. Let me link to the source material. So, oh shoot. Yeah, let's see if that got messed up. 2,200, 3,000. Yeah, that should be the 2,200 purchase at $3 per unit. And then this one should be the 24th purchase of 3,000 units at, maybe that is 347. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that looks a little more cleaned up and fixed. And then again, after we do all these purchases, we come up with a new average cost per unit, because the number of units and the costs have changed. And let's highlight this one with like a dark green. And so now we have a sale. Again, that's the 4,200. And at the time that we have this sale, our average cost per unit here is $3.15 per unit. And then we can basically, we only need one line to represent our ending inventory. So basically we just say, okay, we have there's a $2 left over, and until we get more purchases, maybe I'll highlight these similarly so you can see how that kind of changes. And then again, this is going to be similar to this. So this is just our leftovers after our sale. But after each sale transaction, you really only, you'd have a whole new average cost per unit essentially. And so when you get to the end and you have 2,000 units left over at $3.15. And let's see, okay, that got messed up. But then again, similar thing, we just add the two together. So 18,270 and ending inventory 6,300. There. Okay, so that's all of our methods. And then it asks us finally to calculate gross profit earned under each of the costing methods. So let's do that. So how do we want to do this? Let's do specific. Let's do method, and let's do specific identification, FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average. Okay. And you know what? Let's cut that from there. I'm going to put this over. I don't want to put that. Yeah, I'm just going to put it over here because I want to be able to stretch the columns out without it messing up the stuff we've already done. Okay, so that's our method. And to get gross profit, remember we need sales revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. Again, we're going to need to stretch out some of these columns. Let's make these with some grid lines. Okay, so that's there. Oh, okay, cool. So the sales revenue is the same under each one, 29,000. Here's it just as a little Excel thing. If we want to just link to this, whoops. So remember, if we link here and we drag this down, it's going to start trying to pull from the. It's dragging the formula down as well. So if we want to just link to that one specific cell and keep it there when we drag down, we can highlight into our formula and hit the F4 button. And what that does is adds dollar signs around the E. And you could also just do this manually, putting the dollar signs in there. But F4 is a shortcut for doing that. It's kind of handy because it's sort of a pain to click into there. But what that does then is you drag down, it's still going to refer to that same cell every time, and it won't do the updating where it keeps going down. Okay, now, because the sales revenue doesn't change for each method, the cost of goods sold is what it does. So for FIFO, we had 17,630. Oh, let's drag that out. For LIFO, we had 19,210. Wait, what am I doing wrong there? I missed the whoops. Specific identification, we had the 18,326. For FIFO, we had 17,630. For LIFO, 19,210. And a weighted average should be somewhere in the middle. And then we take our sales minus our cost of goods sold. And you can kind of see the differences in gross profit under each method. And yeah, and it's not like, something to just, these are different methodologies, the sales are still the same, the amounts we paid. It's not like the cash that we earned is different under any one of these transactions. It's really just about how we're recognizing the expense associated with those sales. And it's a timing difference where if the businesses were to be shut down at the end of this month, for example, eventually as this product was all sold off, it would just be a timing difference because we would eventually be getting back into these earlier layers. For example, with LIFO, we still have this layer using the LIFO methodology, but if these businesses stopped, and the sales kept happening for another, month or something, things kept selling, then eventually you would get back to this layer and you would sell it off, because the ending, it's really just about how much cost do we have as in the inventory versus the expense of cost of goods sold, essentially. So, okay, so those are the three methods. And yeah, hopefully that's it. I'm hoping you find value in some of the Excel work that I'm going through as well, because I know having to try and create this all yourself from scratch, especially if you're not that experienced with Excel, could be pretty onerous. So hopefully helpful. And I'm going to break this video out specific to this 5.1 problem. And in the next video, we'll look at homework problem number 5.2. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you in the next video.